It almost feels wrong to make a video about how to beat up what is essentially a small school child, but she's throwing knives and stuff at you, man. It's self-defense. Her mother shouldn't have let her out of the house on her own in the first place, especially wearing clothes like that. I, for one, blame the parents. But this character is very popular right now, kind of everywhere online, and extremely tricky to play against. So I want to give you guys a couple of tips and tricks on how to really improve your chances in this matchup. I think I want to start by talking about some jab strings. Kunimitsu is kind of a long-ranged specialist, but she's better than most characters up close as well. She has a lot of tricky strings where she's teleporting around, and this 1-1 series is a big favorite. She has two versions of this, the 1-1-1, which looks like this, and then the 1-1-2, which looks like that. They look pretty much exactly the same, which is very confusing, but it is important to try to tell them apart, because the first version here is actually -11, so punishable, whereas the second version is only -9. The one that ends with a 2, that's completely safe on block and has a bit of pushback. So I was thinking about ways of dealing with this string, and I realized, you know, the big visual cue is that with the 1-1-1, she kind of jumps in from above like that, and with the other version, she slides in on the ground. But that's very difficult to tell apart in the heat of a match. But then I noticed that if you look at her dagger, it's actually a different color, the trail of it, depending on which version she does. So with the unsafe version, it has a blue trail. With the safe version, it has a yellow trail. I should have come up with some sort of rhyme to help you remember this. I guess if the dagger is blue, the Punisher is you. If the dagger is yellow, she saved their fella. I don't know. Oh, how about this? When she does the blue version, you can tell that it's the same color as those letters on the left that say punish right there. It's the exact same color. So blue means punish, or teal means punish. That's a good way to remember it. So if you see this version, remember to stick your punish if you're one of those fortunate characters like Miguel or Leo. Or those aren't fortunate characters because they get shafted every patch, but if you are a character that has a good 11 frame, then use that. Otherwise, you know, stick your 10 frame and make sure you punish her. I think for the most part, she should actually be using the safe version, though, because it just is better. It's much safer, and it impacts faster. If you look at this first version here, I can actually trade with an 11 frame counter hit here, which means that if you have a 10 frame counter hit, you know, if you play Jack or Feng, which you don't because nobody does, but if you have a 10 frame counter hit, then you can actually counter hit her on the way in here. However, that's very risky to attempt because you can't do anything to interrupt the second safe version, which she probably should be doing. If she does the first version, even if you don't have fast counter hits, you can actually interrupt her with a fast down jab here as well. But if she does the second version, she is completely uninterruptible. So this is the version she should be going for the most part. And I think Kunimitsu players will notice this over the next few weeks, and they will do this other version mainly. So what can you do about it? Not much. You can't actually step, walk, or do much about this string at all. The one thing I found, I mean, apart from just blocking it and then taking your turn with the +9 that you get, you know, maybe go for a low for a mix-up or whatever, but one thing you can actually do is both versions here, even the fast one, if you have a fast activate power crush, you know, armor move, both versions will actually become you can armor through both versions and hit them with a power crush. Miguel can do it with this nice back 4, which means that if you have something really fast, you know, like Bob's forward 1+2, then that's going to work. But depends on what character you play, depends on what kind of armor moves you have. But it's something you can consider. If she's finishing a lot of strings, then you can usually armor through the ender right there. But this is a very oppressive string, so I think for the most part, it's important to just be patient and stand and block and not get crazy about trying to interrupt her or duck unnecessarily. And then if you see the blue trail, then remember, you know, blue means, or teal means punish, and then stick her with an 11 if you have it, but a 10 otherwise. Next, let's talk about something that's a little bit more, I mean, depends on what kind of level you're playing at, I guess, but this projectile can be really important to learn how to deal with. It's kind of interesting the way they've designed this. I've talked in the past about how I think Noctis's Shift Break has one of the best and most balanced move designs in this game, because what that move does, this is, you know, a little bit of a digression, but I think it's important. He throws the sword and then he rolls forward. So if you evade the sword, you actually get the chance to whiff punish him. If you block the sword, he teleports in at a disadvantage and you get to take your turn. You get to mix him. And if you're like me, you don't really like the idea of having a lot of projectiles in Tekken because you don't like zoning in fighting games. You think it's boring. You appreciate Tekken for being a game that doesn't have zoning characters. So it's kind of worrying that they seem comfortable adding more and more projectiles. But this is actually another case, Kunimitsu, where I think they've done a pretty good job. But it's a projectile that you have to strategize against completely differently compared to everything you're used to. Completely differently compared to Noctis, compared to Geese, Eliza, Akuma, all of these other projectile characters, because this projectile you really, really, really want to block. And what implications does that have? Well, it means that when you're out here and you think she's going to throw it, you have to stop moving sideways. And it's really uncomfortable to get used to because in this game, up until this point, whenever a character is throwing projectiles, you move sideways, and once you've evaded it, you go in. But when you do that against Kunimitsu, that happens. You know, she's doing a keep out launcher to find you when you try and come in on her after you've evaded the dagger, and then you get launched. So you have to stop moving sideways when she's doing this. You have to actually stand. Well, you can backdash and move back and forth, but you can't move sideways because when this dagger gets blocked, that's when she's forced to teleport in at -11, which means that you can punish. Again, it's good if you have something nice for 11 with your character, otherwise just your 10. You know, if you're Gigas, you're kind of happy about that because your 10 is amazing. You get to knock her down with 35 damage. But yeah, so it's really, really important to not be in the habit of trying to walk or step projectiles against this character. You have to stand still. You want her to throw it. You want her to throw it at you, and you want her, you want the dagger to connect, and you want to block it every time, and then you get to punish her. And once that clicks, it actually becomes kind of interesting because now you're kind of, you know, kind of like the Joker in the Dark Knight. It's like, I want you to do it, you know? You're just standing here waiting for it. And then you punish her, and then they always get a little bit surprised because it's not something that people are doing consistently that often online yet. But they really should. So important tip. And again, if you do evade the dagger, don't evade it and then try and like run in and hit her with a move because she's probably, let's get some space before we have her throw it here. Don't run in and try and punish her afterwards because she's usually doing some sort of keep out move like her fantastic down 4-2 to catch you on the way in. It's not Geese, it's not Akuma. You're not supposed to do that against this character. Okay, let's talk about some more stuff. What did I record next? Let's have a look. Oh yeah. So I kind of don't love the design idea of this move. Okay, first of all, it's mid-low. This is down forward 3-2. This is the first version. She does a knockdown low, which is very powerful. You don't want to get hit by it. It's a lot of damage if you get caught by this. And then the second version here, she's canceling it and going into crouch. Like this. And then she's doing her while standing launcher. I'm basically trying to show you that she can cancel into crouch and then do while standing mids to hit you when you're trying to duck and block the first hit here. And the cancel is really, really fast. I mean, look at how fast this while standing launcher comes out. It's really difficult to keep up with visually. Again, I think this character is strong because she's just so fast. Even if you do like study the matchup, you have to be like extremely crisp and focused to do what you're supposed to. But the reason I don't love this move design is this first version where she just does the low. You can see that the first hit is actually ±0 on block, and the low comes out really quite quick, which means that there's nothing you can do to interrupt her. You can't down jab, which is what I tried there. You can't do any fast mid, and you can't really even move out of the way. I'm trying to step here, I'm trying to walk, and I definitely can't backdash because it has good range. So if you block the first hit of this, she's coming in. It's not like, you know, if you block it, then you can interrupt. It doesn't work like that with that move. If this first hit gets blocked, then you now have to worry about the low. And your main strategy against the low, your only one really, is to block it and then punish her as hard as you can. It is launch punishable. You can tell right there, -15. If you play a character that doesn't have a 15 frame launcher, definitely find what you can do with your character to maximize the damage. You know, if you're Kazumi or Gigas or whatever, which you aren't because nobody is, but you know, find a good punisher for this option. And then if she is doing the second version, or if she is doing some sort of cancel here, now you have time. Now you have time to actually interrupt her. You can even, do big mids, even mid launchers if you're trying to do the quick cancel into a while standing move. But like I said, it's very fast. You can't distinguish between the two on the way in, and if you attempt to do a hop kick when she's going to do the first version, that just gets you hit. So your options are kind of limited here. It's mix-up insurance for Kunimitsu. If you block the first hit, which you will most of the time, it's a mid, it's got good range, then you have to worry about the mix-up. She forces the mix-up every time. You can't even move out. So very important, and I think the best option here is to just try and follow along with her. You can actually like follow along, duck, and then if she doesn't do the low, then stand back up and try and block the mid. But then, maybe she's sitting in crouch and waiting down there and then doing her full crouch low, that sweep, and then she gets the guaranteed 4-4-2. So it's very layered and it's difficult to keep up with, but that's how it works. So good luck, essentially. Next, this is really the biggest part of this character. This is her most powerful aspect, in my opinion. It's the set stance. This is like one of the best stances ever. There are a bunch of stances in the game that have like, a dash in with a mix-up connected Harrier, Moon Glide. This one is better than all of them simply because it's much, much faster. Again, very fast, difficult to keep up with. And the reason I've made her do a jab before she does the stance here is I need a visual cue to be able to show you the different options for dealing with the stance, because otherwise she's too fast for me. So I have to telegraph it with a jab right here. So the move I've recorded here is the set 2, which is her best move in her entire move list. I think it's a strong contender for one of the best moves in the entire game. It's absolutely fantastic. It's extremely fast. 12 frames. There are no mids in the game, basically. Might be a few exceptions, but that are faster than 12, and it comes out of this lightning quick stance, extremely good range, extremely difficult to move out of the way of, and if it counter hits, then she's going to launch you for big fat deeps. So the way to deal with this move is, if you want to try and move out of the way of it, don't ever go left, because if I'm walking left here, if I'm stepping left, even if I step kind of late, she's always going to catch me. The dagger is really big on that side. If I step right, she still catches me most of the time. So what I have to do to evade this move is specifically walk right, and I have to do it better than that. Let's try again. Start a little bit later. This worked perfectly a little bit earlier. So yeah, as you can tell, it's not really... There you go. It is very possible to walk it to the right. It's probably better, as you can see right here, if you're closer to her, but you're probably not close to her when she's doing it because it's a gap closer. So moving out of the way of it is really difficult. But if you want to try and do it, walk right. Don't step right, walk right. It seems better. Or just block it, If you do block it, as you can tell right there, it's -9, so she is completely safe, which is one of the reasons the move is so extremely, extremely good. But at least you get to take a turn here, and maybe you can lay a, a mid-low mix-up on her. But yeah, what a strong, fantastic move. And it gets worse, right, because she mixes it with this fantastic mix-up low, which I've recorded here. This is another really fast, unreactable move out of the stance, and it's the main mix-up that she uses. This is -16, so definitely take note. If you have specifically 16 frame while standing launchers, you can launch this, and you should. If you're one of those 18 frame launcher characters, then, tough shit, honestly, in this matchup. But this low version is very linear. This one you can really walk in both directions quite easily. But now you run into a different problem. How do you actually punish it? It's really difficult to punish because she kind of slides away from you, and it's difficult to get anything consistently here. Even if you do like big, low hitbox mids like that, she just slides away from you. So the big tip, if you're trying to punish this on the back, what you have to do, you see, if I do a launcher right away, it's just going to miss. But if you wait a little bit and let her start to stand back up, then you got time. So you just have to be patient here and really let her end the slide, and then it's still you still have more than enough time to actually stick your punish. So wait for her to finish sliding and then start standing back up, and then do something big, you know, like a launcher, something that you want to hit on the back with. And you know, it's important with any character to have a couple of good options for what you want to do when you see the opponent's back. You know, if I'm playing Miguel, maybe I like to do 1-2-4 into the guaranteed Savage 2 or something like that. That's kind of low damage, but you have, you know, strings and options that you can get guaranteed on the back. Have some of that canned against this character, because sometimes you do find the back. Sometimes she shows the back to you willingly. Another big tip that I want to give you, kind of the final one in this video, is that when Kunimitsu does go into back turn, which she will do sometimes, she will cancel into it. She will do cheeky back turn stuff for Oki. 90% of the time, just block low. When you see her turn her back, just block low. I have played so many Kunis over the last few days, and I don't think I've seen a single person do a single move from back turn that wasn't low. She has two versions, the dagger stab in the feet and then the breakdance low. Both are very good. Both have crush properties. If you try and like jab into her back like that when you are at disadvantage, then she's going to go under that. Most of the time people probably just stand there and eat the low. And I think in a couple of weeks, people are going to be used enough to seeing the back turn that they will start blocking a low more and more, and that's when she's going to start using the mid mix-up launch that you saw her launch Nina with in that launch trailer. But for now, most of the time, they really like to go for the back turn low. So if you see her going to back turn and she's being cheeky, block low most of the time, honestly, because it just seems to be statistically the right answer for now. So there you go, a couple of tips on how to improve in this matchup. Always block the dagger. You want her to do it. If the dagger is blue, then punish her. And I mean, good luck out there. It's a strong character and difficult to play against. But I honestly do much, much better against her now than I did 2 or 3 days ago. So it is at least something that you can mitigate and get better at. Thank you so much for watching this short video. If you have additional tips, let everybody, including me, know in the comments, because it's important to know how to play against these DLC characters. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again very soon.